I'm telling my grandkids this is the Terminator and Sarah Connor. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Akorn, and today is Friday, which means it's time for Gen X and Millennial Memes, where we remember all the things we didn't even know we forgot about. If you like this series and want to see more, please enjoy this video to the end. Hit that like and subscribe, and share the laughs and the memories with your family, friends, and social media. Thinking about putting wallpaper up in my new house and ruining someone's week in 30 years like the boomers did. I don't like paintwork, but I like wallpaper even less. Instead of texting "here" last night, one of my friends knocked on my front door just like our ancestors used to. That's just kind of sad, guys. It's even out of date to knock on somebody's door. People over 30 when they drive by a closed Blockbuster video. Found this legendary piece on the beach today during a first date. She didn't understand why I was so excited. Needless to say, I took my own Uber home. The driver thought it was awesome. So the legend says that the M from MTV originally stood for music. Once upon a time, a long time ago. Guess these 80s hits. The first one is Walk Like an Egyptian. Do you guys know the other 5? Drop them down in the comments. People really used to walk into a dealership and go, "Yep, this is what I want to finance for the next 5 years." Yeah, the old Geo Tracker that became so popular for some reason. And I think Chevy bought them out later on toward the end of their popularity. My parents had a TV like this. I remember because I was the remote. It's okay, I'll pay. Let me pull this bad boy up. I've seen worse. Still a better astronaut than Katy Perry, and that's to say the very least. I'm positive many of you will know exactly what this is. I'm disappointed that you're using AI. It's not as much about the public using it, but rather those that created and control it. Seemed like most houses had this, and if I remember correctly, it weighed about 100 pounds. That's usually because of all the books and magazines that have piled up inside. 1970s story records, complete with read-along books. These were our indoor entertainment before VHS players were invented. I had some of these when I was a kid, but instead of the full-size records, all of mine were 45s. If you want to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. That is kind of true. When 3PO's been running his mouth too much, so you gotta give him some beep boop bops. Yeah, most people didn't know about R2-D2's full armor. How awesome would it have been if we could have built something like this back in the day? You have to admit, this is pretty cool. Nobody will remember your job, your income, how busy you were. People will remember how good you were at pickleball. What is it with pickleball these days? There's even one of the little towns around here where they apparently have pickleball tournaments. Hear me out. What if Gen Xers are actually the cool ones? Are they just now figuring this out? She couldn't speak, but she knew how to say "I love you," just like he taught her. That moment you realize Russell Crowe is turning into John Goodman. I guess he kinda is, actually. Going to bed in the 80s. No internet, no mobile phone. Yeah, just set the alarm on your boombox or your wood grain alarm clock and make sure the switch is over on radio, because it's always better to be woken up by music instead of a loud buzzer screaming at you. I always hated it when somebody switched the alarm clock over to buzzer instead of radio. Speedy Gonzales was banned by Cartoon Network for being an offensive stereotype, only to be returned after mass protest by the Hispanic American community. There was one of my viewers that said something in the comments to the effect that Speedy Gonzales self-deported, but he came back legally this time and got his U.S. citizenship. Them self-driving semi-trucks are the future. What could possibly go wrong? What I'm picturing. Fact check true. I would like to help you, but I just can't fix stupid. Hey, it's me, the ghost of your old hermit friend. You should unalive your dad. There is some good plot holes in the old Star Wars movies, as well as just some really good screw-ups too. I don't usually get too many news articles in this series, but here's one that I came across this week. Receptionist asks Gen X patient who filled out paperwork in cursive to redo it because she never learned that kind of English. The Gen Xer was shocked to discover that cursive is no longer taught in most American schools. Never learned that kind of English. You know, I get that the younger generations hasn't been taught cursive, which isn't their fault actually. I mean, heck, these days, a lot of the kids that's graduating can't even hardly read. But still yet, now we have a generation of adults who aren't able to read cursive. All the memes in past years about cursive being a new secret code for the older generations could use so that the younger generations have no idea what we're saying, it's all coming true. Back in my day, the struggle was real. You think it was hard to store CDs and to carry them around with you? Try cassette tapes, or even 8-tracks. There really was trouble with tribbles. After the filming of the episode, many of the tribble props were lost in the sets, only to be found occasionally during filming through the entire rest of the series. I just hate to be the one that had to make all of them things. Speaking of Star Trek, this is what I need right now. That sure would save me a lot of time. Went to the Ford dealership and bought the best truck on the lot. Yeah, it's the best truck because regardless of brand, all of the old trucks were far better than the trucks they have these days, especially when it comes to working on them. I can hear this picture. I think every family had this clock. Yeah, I had one almost exactly like that. Eating breakfast has never been cooler than eating Batman cereal in 1989. How many of you guys remember having this when you were a kid? I think most of my problems can be traced back to all the Aquanet I inhaled in the 80s. That actually has the potential to be true for some people. Maybe a lot of people, actually.
Wonderful day to make cookies. Cookies with the finest ingredients, the smoothest chocolate, and... Oh, that I lived to see this day. Are you sure, Ernest? Yes. Listen to the voice upon the wind. You will know it to be true. Overtime. But you owe me overtime, which is no big deal.
I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to make cookies.
I'm making cookies in my pants right now. They're shaped like poo.
Walking into the Scholastic Book Fair with $20. Yeah, I bet we would have felt that way back in those days. TikTokers. Me. Fun fact. J-Lo is the same age as Blanche in season 1 of The Golden Girls. Everyone talking about how rad the new Godzilla movie graphics are, but let's talk about the first time we saw this. If you can still remember what his name stood for and what his favorite food was, drop it down below. You can now get a junk drawer starter kit for people who just bought a new home. Don't worry, you don't need to buy one. It just kind of happens all on its own. You know you grew up in the 80s if you remember.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
That is very true. Core memory unlocked. My mom still has a couple of these. Her. He's probably thinking about other women. Him. How did the Back to the Future makeup artist know exactly what Biff would look like in 30 years? That is pretty uncanny, actually. And I think what makes it funnier is that's his normal hairstyle now. 1960s ladies. No tattoos, nose rings, or green hair. Or, that's very true. That's at least one thing you didn't really have to worry about back then. Most people are at the age where they are using their phones to document the good times in their lives. I'm at the age where I use my phone to take pictures of labels that I can't read, and I use my phone to enlarge the print so that I can read it. Yeah, that is true. I also use the phone to take pictures of stuff just so I won't forget it. If you saw the Bionic Man fight Bigfoot, then you had an awesome childhood. How I feel when I talk about the 1980s to anyone under 30. Yeah, that is fairly accurate. How come you can sing all the words to 60s to 80s songs, but you can't remember why you just went into the kitchen? Unfortunately, this is too true far too often. Yes, they did make one not photoshopped. Ford did make a Mustang wagon, the Intermechanica, a concept car. This one shown in River Edge in 1973, courtesy of Vintage Bergen County. Just another little interesting piece of history. I bet we all would have loved to have these kind of station wagons to ride around back then, while we sat and look out the back window. 80s movie quote. I think everyone here should get this one. My Pet Monster, the single greatest stuffed animal of the 80s. My daughter was doing her history homework and asked me what I knew about Galileo. I said he was a poor boy from a poor family. The ill-conceived and little-known Type 2H VW Airbus was Volkswagen's attempt to penetrate the rotary wing aerospace sector in the 60s. Underpowered and therefore slow, not unlike its road-bound counterparts, competing designs blew the doors off VW's attempt. The only surviving example, Flight Test Vehicle 2, is seen below undergoing restoration. FTV-1 was destroyed in an in-flight fire when the number 4 cylinder tie bolts lost torque and released hot gases into the engine compartment, igniting oil residue, which was always present in and around the overworked air-cooled power plant. It was overworked in the VW bus. I sure as heck wouldn't want it in a chopper, although it is kind of a cool piece of history. That is one heck of a model for the Millennium Falcon. Look at all the mirrors that he's got sitting on the floor just so you can see the detail on the bottom side. I wonder how many years he spent building that. Henson, master of puppets.
Hey, how you doing? Is this Special Parking? I'm Chris with No Tech. I'm here to check the flux capacitor. Are you Marty?
No.
Dr. Brown tell you I was coming? Okay, just pick a spot out?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
If anybody wants to know why Gen X is always mad, it's because we had to replace our record collections with a tape collection, that we had to replace with a CD collection, that we had to replace with an MP3 collection, and now we need a subscription to listen to music. It actually has been pretty ridiculous. And the worst part is how you need a subscription for everything today. Nothing made you happier than seeing this when walking into a classroom as a kid. Yeah, most of the time it was just some movie instead of a educational video. The page I found this photo on had it titled as, "This looks dangerous." Really? Putting 2 kids in a tiny cage with a full-grown tiger? Yeah, that might be a little dangerous. But that's just how things were back then. Never forget the dangers of quicksand. After school in the 80s. The glory of owning Diamondback, Harrow, Redline, Hutch, Mongoose, Skyway, or Dino in the 80s. I had a red BMX, and I rode it everywhere. Raiders of the Lost Ark was made in 1981 and took place in 1936. If they did a remake next year with the same time gap, it would take place in 1981. Yeah, we're that old. For when you just don't have time to go. Volkswagen should bring back the Beetle as an electric car and call it the Lightning Bug. That would actually be pretty funny, but only if they brought back the old body style. It's 12 noon. 70s and 80s kids will remember. you still can't beat a good tomato soup and grilled cheese, especially on these cold, rainy days we've been having. Here it's supposed to be spring, and instead, we've been having fall-like weather. How's the weather where you guys are? Grandma once said, sometimes you have to hug the people you don't like so you know how big to dig the hole in your backyard. Yeah, and I've known some people that were completely serious about this too. When you get angry, take a breath and count to 10. Throw a punch at 8. Nobody expects that. How many of you knew that June of 2025 marks 50 years since the Jaws was first released? Ahead of Memorial Day, Island braces for Summer of Jaws. Visitors streaming out of Steamship Authority ferries and Vineyard Haven this week will likely notice a gift shop window clustered with apparel commemorating the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the 1975 summer blockbuster classic. A whoopee cushion filled with gravy adds a hilarious new dimension to a rather tiresome practical joke. It's not tiresome. Whoopee cushion never gets old. Yeah, after all the wars are over, AI will return to its roots of making art. When you hit a pothole and the check engine light goes away and the radio starts working again. If it's in a car these days, the radio and the check engine light are probably related problems. The two-wheeler is a WLA 1942 Liberator, made for the U.S. Army in World War II. You don't see many of them anymore. Free spring water. Yeah, you can go ahead and try, but you might be in for a bit of a surprise. Brave Little Toaster is one of the best kids' movies ever, and most people seem unaware it exists. For some reason, this is true. It's basically the same thing that happened with another great kids' movie, Batteries Not Included. Okay, children of the 80s, what's missing here? Well, first, there's no dish on the coffee table full of candy. Second, I don't see any wood paneling. What else do you guys see missing? Me and my childhood without any reason. Oh, that was a perfect reason. We were bored. Especially when we was taking a needle and pushing it through the top layer of skin. Used to do that all the time when I was a kid. Be honest, how many of you knew that Smurfette was not actually a real Smurf? She was created by Gargamel in an attempt to find the Smurf's village. It was Papa Smurf who performed a spell on her, thus making her a real Smurf. She also originally had black hair. In 1975, Kodak engineer Steven Sasson built the first digital camera, capturing images without film. Fearing it would harm their film business, Kodak shelved the invention, a decision now seen as one of tech's history's biggest missed opportunities. Yeah, most of today's technology advancements is actually built on the foundation of the technology that was actually created in the 70s and 80s. Of course, if you're talking about the original computers, they stretch all the way back to World War II. Sylvester Stallone still has the turtles from the movie Rocky, and they are over 40 years old. Me every time 16-year-olds make a new word like yeet, and I have to look it up on Urban Dictionary. That is very true. I've used Urban Dictionary a lot of times. A photo from the 1970s of Seabreeze Amusement Park in Rochester, New York. No one tells you this, but the older you get, the more you look out your house windows. This is actually true for some reason. At this point, I'm willing to pay more money for appliances with zero smart features and just physical knobs, buttons, and controls for everything. I guarantee you I would be. As a matter of fact, back about 3 years ago, I rebuilt a washer-dryer stack unit that was from the early 90s. And I did that just because it was completely mechanical, including all of the controls. No computers, no fancy electronics. It's all just mechanical switches and timers. And that's the way I want to keep it. I still use it every week. I bought my husband a new wallet probably 5 months ago. He has no desire to switch over to it yet. The left is his current wallet. My dad has done the same thing. Men, is this a universal thing? Do you have a hard time giving up the old, faithful, falling apart wallet? A woman should appreciate a man that doesn't discard things just because they are old and wrinkled. I just had to include this one here on the channel. I thought it was pretty funny. However, it's also pretty true. I did finally change over to a new wallet a couple years ago, and the only reason I did is because my old wallet was falling apart, and I was actually afraid I could lose something. My old wallet was only about 10 years old, but it wasn't very well made. Adam Sandler made his first television appearance on The Cosby Show back in 1987. There are levels to this. Well, I guess that's one way. Actually, a lot of people that are told that they have heartburn actually just don't have enough stomach acid. And if you don't have enough stomach acid and you take an antacid, then it basically will neutralize all the acid in the stomach, after which the stomach will make an oversupply of acid. The way to find out if you have heartburn or if you don't have enough stomach acid is to mix a small amount of apple cider vinegar with a small glass of water and drink it down. If the heartburn goes away, then it shows you didn't have enough stomach acid. The Pirate's Creed of Ethics. If you grew up playing this, you need to schedule a colonoscopy.
When I'm flying in a plane or I'm on the street, there's a lot of friendly people that I like to meet. They shake my hand but never ask my name, and they start asking questions that are always the same. Hey, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Christopher Lloyd like? Kinda quiet. What's Crispin Glover like? Unusual. Stop asking me a question. I went to the bar mitzvah of my nephew Josh. I'm not Jewish, but I like to nosh. Put on my yarmulke, started to pray, when the rabbi leaned over and I heard him say, hey, was that real manure? No, it wasn't. How was that DeLorean? A piece of garbage. Do those hoverboards really fly? It's a movie. Stop asking me the question. Can we take your picture? Come on, look mean. Would you call my friend a butthead on his answering machine? No. Questions fill my head. I went to my doctor. My doctor said, hey Tom, what does a key grip do? Set up lights. What does the best boy do? Help the key grip. What does a producer do? I don't know. Stop asking me the question. Do you all hang out together? No, we don't. How's Crispin Glover? never talk to him. Back to the Future 4's not happening. Stop asking me the question. Hey, who's the nicest famous guy you know? Matt Damon. Who is the biggest jerk? Gary Busey. How much money do you make? More than you do. Stop asking me the question. There you go.
Back to the Future screenwriter Bob Gale says there will never be another sequel, prequel, or spin-off. It's just fine the way it is. A lot of Back to the Future memes in today's show, but yes, I have to fully agree with this one. What about you guys? What do you think? Would you like to see a Back to the Future 4? A tree fell on my fence, making the best of it while I negotiate the repair. I think that right there is an awesome idea. And the fact that they put quotes around dog makes it just that much better. Cartoons was an automotive humor magazine in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Each issue came with 2 iron-on decals and a how-to-draw listen. I learned to draw cars growing up with this magazine. The Berenstein Bears, When Diddy Gets Out. It's one of those life lesson books. Gen X is trending. It's the perfect time for me to post my favorite generational meme. I'm old enough to remember the very first TED Talk. It was most excellent. Adulthood is straight up the worst hood I've ever lived in. They're not wrong. Remember calling into radio stations to request a song? Yeah, I remember one station when I was a kid back in Kentucky that took song requests every week. I remember calling in to request a song and sitting ready at my boombox with my finger on the pause button while play and record was already held down. It's finally stopped raining. I think I'll go mow. Yeah, this literally has been the past several weeks. If only we could have saved up all the rain and the storms that we've had in the past few weeks and distribute them out evenly during the summer. We'd probably have enough water to last all summer. Without naming the TV show, what's a quote that would give it away? Just one more thing. If you know, drop it in the comments. The mullet of the automotive world. I never thought of it that way, but they're kind of right. I'm this old. Here is an early 1970 globe showing East and West Germany as well as the Soviet Union. Hey Gen X, in a few weeks Kurt Loder will be 80 years old. Have a nice day. Only some will get this. If you get it, drop it down in the comments. Barker Brothers brought us Smess, the Ninny's Chess. Do any of you remember this out-of-print board game from the early 1970s? Drop it down in the comments. The single most underrated villain of the 80s. Do you guys agree with this? And if not, Who do you think was the most underrated villain? Drop it in the comments. Remember playing outside and not in the house? Not only did we play outside a lot because we wanted to, but also we played outside even when we didn't want to, because the adults would kick all the kids out of the house. Yeah, ChatGPT is asking Chuck Norris a question. Me in 1984 hiding in a department store clothing rack while my mom has the scariest 17 minutes of her life. Yeah, because she was thinking about all those episodes that she'd watched on Unsolved Mysteries. You have to admit, that is a pretty unique DeLorean. Yes, I had breakfast. The breakfast. Yeah, I usually don't eat a whole lot of breakfast. How about you guys? Kids, do not touch the thermostat. If you break it, you will be forced to slave labor, also called chores, which we did regardless if we broke anything. How old were you when you found out Katie Segal and the Doublemint twins were sisters? That is true. I saw a photo back some time ago of all three of them standing together, and you could definitely tell that they were sisters. If you know what they're supposed to be doing, drop it down in the comments. I've started a paid website called Older Fans, where people come to see what injury I have and how I got it. That's just kind of messed up. When you hear your mom say your full name, you knew you were in trouble then. I think that's really the only reason that they gave us middle names. One day you went to Blockbuster Video to rent a movie without knowing it would be the last time. That is actually true. If you ever drove a car without any power steering, you can literally fight anybody and win. Yeah, no power steering, no power brakes, no power windows, power locks. Back when everything was manual, but it worked and was fairly easy to fix. I'm gonna be honest. I want to know how much. My 10-year-old kid today. Dad, why is the lightsaber projecting a shadow if it's a lightsaber? My 39-year-old ass who never noticed. You get an Uber, and this is your Uber driver. What are you guys talking about? I'd be telling him if he got a DeLorean, he'd never be late again. So where do you think your childhood trauma came from? That might have been one of them for some people. Me at the store asking my mom if we can rent a game. I never remember seeing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Nintendo Entertainment System. Did this actually exist? Or is this just something that somebody made? It's a pretty good quality modification if so. Michael, 2035. Did you know? Several decades after the release of Jaws, Lee Fierro, who played Mrs. Kenter, walked into a seafood restaurant and noticed that the menu had an Alex Kenter sandwich. She commented that she had played his mother so many years ago. The owner of the restaurant ran out to meet her, and he was none other than Jeffrey Voorhees, who had played her son. they had not seen each other since the original movie shoot. Some people will understand. Just another brick in the wall. This photo was submitted by Mark, and this is his GE food processor that not only does he still have, but he still uses it to this day. And he also has a set of the famous casserole dishes. Back in the day, we partied in the woods and ran from the cops. Core memory unlocked. I probably still have some of these packed up somewhere. If you don't know who these heroes are, then you have no business celebrating Cinco de Mayo. Child Launcher 4000, asking $60. That seems like a good buy. It's weird being the same age as old people. Yeah, unfortunately. Kids today finds out school is canceled via text. Me had to wake up at 6 a.m. and watch the bottom of the TV screen like an NBA draft. It wasn't even on TV back in the day. We listened to the radio to find out if school was canceled or not. While the 80s kids were playing, the 60s kids weren't. Yeah, this is pretty true for every generation. Just like when the 60s kids were playing, the 40s kids weren't. My dad was born in 41. He went in the military when he was 17 and got paid a grand total of $50 a month, $40 of which he had sent back home to his dad and mom to try to help with the rest of the kids as well as the family farm. Yeah, sitting in the back on the rear-facing seat, staring at the car behind you while huffing the exhaust and gas fumes. Phrases that younger generations won't understand. I'll go first. Be kind. Rewind. Here's another related one. Tell them to tape something on TV. Just make sure that you record it and submit it to the show for all of us to enjoy. How many of you ever noticed that the newspaper is advertising the car of the future, the Advanced 55 Studebaker? You know you're getting old when it takes 2 tries to get up from the couch. Well, I can't argue with that. Pictures you can hear. Yeah, I can, but it wasn't one of my favorites. It might just be me, but I'm pretty sure that they're both cheating. Furious George. He's beyond curious. He's pissed. Yeah, it's because they took his tail away. Who had a pair of these? No, I never owned a pair of Reeboks when I was a kid, as far as I can remember at least. Full-service gas stations. They pumped the gas, checked the oil, checked tire pressure, and washed windows. When these disappeared, lots of cars were ruined because people didn't know how or were too lazy to do it themselves. Yeah, my dad ran a gas station back in the 60s, and like all the others back then, it was a full-service station. He would also change out headlights, taillights, and other bulbs, as well as batteries and a lot of other odds and ends, which he also done a lot of other mechanic work as well. Looks like somebody finally found Doc's warehouse. Snoopy's real. If he'd just had black instead of brown on his head, he'd have been pretty darn close. At 30, I used to exercise to look good. At the age of 50, to be fit. At 70, not to be petted in a bed. At 80, to be able to live without assistance. Now at 99, I do it out of pure defiance. Dick Van Dyke. Domino's Pizza once paid to pave over potholes with their logo on it, as an alternative to billboards and physical ads. Hey, that's one of the best advertising campaigns I've seen. They were able to help the community and advertise their brand at the same time. Our dads ruled the road. Their muscle cars still leave ours in the dust. And I'll end today's show with this. I heard someone say, kids are just different these days. I disagree. Kids are the same. What's changed is a society with lowered expectations, a severe lack of discipline, and the acceptance of disrespect. Give kids boundaries, expectations, rules, limits, rewards, and consequences, and they will rise to the challenge and exceed your expectations every time. I'd like to thank all of you who watched this video to the end, as it really helps to support the channel. If you like this series and want to see more, then please share these videos with your family and friends. Also consider hitting that like button, and if you haven't already, smash subscribe and click that bell so you'll never forget another episode. Also, please remember to check out our brand new Akornz Stash merch store. This link can be found down below in the video description. With that said, I'll see all of you back here on Sunday show. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this weekend. This is Akorn, over and out.